Shalom Yasharala, this your brother Dawada from GMS St. Petersburg, Florida, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachak double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well, and salutation and much love for your Akim pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to just basically touch in on this here USA Today cover for so-called Black History Month, and as you can see, it has Exodus on there, but nevertheless, we're gonna just go ahead and jump on into this, but nevertheless, basically, this is just more or less like, the writings on the wall, the men of the Lord have been out here prophesying and letting you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans know who you are according to the Bible, all right, and who the so-called white man is according to the Bible, all right, and your predicament that you in now, and a lot of our people call it so-called racist, so-called hate groups, and this, and that, whatever, whatnot. But man, we so far in the game now, we at the end of this thing now, to where not only the men of the Lord, they prophesying and bringing out this here truth, but you also have these damn heathen, all right, that's basically that they tongue is becoming the curse to their own self, more or less to say, because they bringing out truth as well too, But nevertheless, they're not telling you the whole truth, but they still have the so-called writing on the wall, and like this here cover here shows, it's pretty much the writing on the wall, man. All right, the Most High is showing you, really, it's not even these heathen. It's the Most High showing you sign after sign after sign after sign after sign. I mean, the biggest sign should have been the men of the Lord on the highways and the byways. But what? A lot of our people, they're not gonna believe that. But they what? They believe in what the so-called white man say. Okay, well, shit, the so-called white man is telling you the same shit we telling you. All right, there's no difference. Well, there's a little difference. We openly telling you these so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are the Israelites. All right, now they might say some shit like the Africans, the African Americans, or whatever. What? No, we're not African and we're not American. All right, but nevertheless, you have to ask yourself why are all these things coming to the forefront right now? Why are all these things so put it this way, you have to understand the so-called white man, right? He don't believe in religion, the Bible, and all this and that. Although they'll say they do, but they really don't. All right, but you have to ask yourself, why are some of these things coming into play? I did a lesson on what was it, COINTELPRO, targeted individuals in the search for the Black Messiah. All right, now in the FBI's own words, they said that they was looking for basically a Black Messiah. All right, and so I'm like, well, wait a minute, that word Messiah, there's no definition to the word Messiah. If there was no Bible, right? If there was none of that, if none of that was really real, there would be no definition for the word Messiah, because that's just, you see what I'm saying? That's like that's where you get the definition from. There's no other way and no other term, no other place where you would use the word Messiah not referencing the scriptures. You see what I'm saying? So nevertheless, you have to ask yourself these questions, like, yo, man, like y'all tell us all the time to forget about slavery and this and that was in the past. So why is it that y'all talking about this stuff now? Why is it that y'all having to come to the forefront with all these things and addressing all these things, Not that long ago, you want to take slavery out of the textbook, saying it was immigrants and they came over here voluntarily and it was working and so on and so forth. But now you're coming back out and you have to so-called commemorate these things, And you also signing laws and things like this and that, so on and so forth, to basically mark the 400th year that we've been here in captivity, all right? And going back to when we got here, 1619, 2019, that's 400 years, And as you see how everything is shaping up, come on, man, it's obvious the writing on the wall, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and grab a couple scriptures here, and I'm going to go ahead and close out, just dealing with this here thing, dealing with this, with the writings on the walls. Now, put it this way. We know about a timeline. Now, we don't know the day or the hour, put it that way. But we know about a timeline by measuring the time diligently, like the scriptures say, looking for all the signs that the Lord gave us, all right? Like all the different writings on the wall. He gave us a lot of hints and clues and things. When you see this happen, when you see that happen, these things is coming. You can read that in Matthew 24, wars and rumors of wars. Just a whole lot of different things, Some of the major things was what? We know that, right before the Lord come, all right, pretty much these Edomites and the Babylon the Great, America, is going to be destroyed by thermonuclear missiles, right? And as we see today in the world, those things are being ramped up, right? The INF treaty is America pulled out of that, and so they just going, into a all new arms race, all right? The RFID chip, which is the mark of the beast, all right? You see them heavily pushing that shit this year now, not just this year, but you heavily see them pushing them in the recent years, But nevertheless, we look around and we measure the times that we in, and we can see the so-called writing on the wall. All right. So I'm bringing this here article out just basically to show you, the men of the Lord, they know what time it is. But for the rest of our people who's either on the fence or whatever, whatnot, or just coming into these things and seeing us on the news and, just waking up to these here things, just look at some of the subtle clues, before you can dive really deep into the scriptures and try to get all the breakdowns. Look at some of the really surface level signs that's being shown to you all around the world. You know what I'm saying? Because there's plenty of signs on a so-called surface level that you like, well, wait, what the hell is going on here? It's something a little different than what's going on. Why are people making big deals about things that we weren't supposed to make big deals about? Why are all these things, actually more important than what we was taught that they were? All right. But nevertheless, like I said, I'm bringing this here lesson out to show you, our people, that look, man, there are signs written all over all the walls. They covered, you know what I'm saying, about who you are, what time we in, and who you here with, But nevertheless, let me just go ahead and grab these scriptures real quick. I'm going to start out here in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 23. I'm going to start at verse 5. It says, Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. Okay? Talking about Yahushua. And in his days, Judah. Now, again, timelines. We're looking at timelines. Well, we see Yahushua, first of all, it says, and I will raise up unto David a righteous branch, which is Yahushua, right? He was on the scene at one point in time, but this didn't happen. It says, and the king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. Now, Yahushua didn't do that yet, all right? That's when he come back the second time. He's going to do that then. Letting you know that this hadn't happened, giving you somewhat of a timeline. This is in the future, all right? And in his days, when Yahushua come, Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely. Okay, now this is one of the prophecies that prove that the so-called white man, these Jewish people aren't the Israelites, all right? Because why? Yahushua didn't come back and didn't stick them in that land, and they not dwelling over there safely, all right? But nevertheless, it says, in his days, Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely. And there's another thing, it says Judah shall be saved. They claim to be the so-called Jews, the Jewish people over there, which Jew is basically a nickname for Judah, all right? That's like Tom as a short name for Thomas, right? So it says in his days Judah shall be saved. Well, if that's the scenario, yeah, there's so-called, they claim to be the southern kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, or mainly Judah and Levi, all right? But nevertheless, what about Israel? What about the northern kingdom, the kingdom of Israel? It says, and Israel shall dwell safely. All right, so what about the whole northern kingdom? You have a whole nother kingdom. The majority of the house of Israel, they're not even over there, according to who you say you are, all right? But that's not talking about them. It's talking about the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, all right? We still in our captivity, but we being primed to be saved, all right? It's like we waiting on the train, and we hear the train, they had the announcement, the E train is now approaching the station. You know what I'm saying? And people are starting to get up and line up to get onto the train, all right? It says, in his days, Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely. And this is the name whereby he shall be called, the Lord of our righteousness. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that they shall no more say, Yahweh liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. Okay? And as you see, as of, I want to say like, maybe, I think this came out maybe a week ago or something like that. But nevertheless, as you see, they still, you know what I'm saying, talking about, well, really, that's not really talking about in Egypt, but when you go back to the movie like Exodus and things like that, they still, whenever you mention the word Exodus, what do people associate that with? With Egypt, right? Because that's the one Exodus that we know about, all right? There's never been another Exodus like that, per se, more or less to say, all right? Continuing on, it says, well, let me read that again. Verse 7, therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that they shall no more say, Yahweh liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. So there's going to come a point in time where we're going to stop talking about that Exodus, all right? Because that was like one of the greatest things that ever happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, that's still being talked about from when Moses was alive. We still talk about a story from when Moses was alive, walking around the Exodus. They make movies about it, so on and so forth, But basically the Most High saying, look, y'all going to forget all about that shit, all right? Verse 8. It says, let me read it from 7 again. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that they shall say no more. They shall no more say, the Lord liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But Yahweh liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country, and from all the countries whither I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their land, in their own land. All right. So another cut to these damn Israelis. Like, yo, bro. when y'all came into the land of Israel, right? Y'all was coming from Poland and like from Germany and shit like that, from over there in Europe, all right? You didn't come from out of North America going over into that land like that, all right? But it says, but Yahweh liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel, all right? The seed, all right? Going back into the sperm, the genealogy. You know what I'm saying? The ones like, okay, my father had me, I had so and so and so and so and so and so. Well, yeah, we all come from the same sperm line, more or less to say, you know? But it says, but Yahweh liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country, okay, out of here in Babylon, Babylon the Great, America, and from all the countries where I had driven them, and they should dwell in their own land. All right, now let me actually go back real quick to Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 64, I think. Let me get there. Yeah, this is Deuteronomy 28 and 64. And Yahweh shall scatter thee. Now these are the curses that the Most High put upon us, told us that will befall us if we broke his covenant. All right. And Yahweh shall scatter, Deuteronomy 28 and 64. And Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth even into the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods which neither thou or nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. All right. Just getting to the point. Let me go down to verse 68. And Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Now, the Israelites never went back into Egypt in a massive droves as slaves, first and foremost. And better yet, they never went to Egypt by ships. All right. For the most part, it was a 3-day journey. You know, when who the world only calls Jesus Christ, Yahushua was born. I believe they walked a 3-day journey into Egypt. That's where they wound up hiding out at. All right. But nevertheless, you know what I'm saying? You didn't have to take a ship to get over there. All right. It says, and Yahweh shall bring you into Egypt again with ships. All right. Now, the Egypt is talking about his bondage into slavery. He was going to be brought into slavery on ships. All right. He was going to be scattered into the four corners of the earth, brought into slavery on ships. All right. It says, by the way whereof I spake of it unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. See what? Our homeland. All right, there you shall be sold. Where's it there? Where you was going to be scattered into all four corners of the earth and into that north country where you was going to be delivered out of, which is Babylon the Great, also known as America. There you should be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Now, talking about no man shall buy you means no man's going to redeem you. You're not going to be redeemed out of these situations, like i.e. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, so on and so forth. All right. These men were so-called trying to free so-called black people from under the oppression of the so-called white man. All right, but it was only the Lord that was going to be able to do that. All right, but it says, thou shalt see it no more again, and there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen. All right, and that's what happened here in America. We was brought out on New York, the first stock exchange, or the first stock market was us, slaves. All right, they was bidding for us out there. All right, so the Lord said he was going to scatter us amongst all nations into the four corners of the earth. All right. Let me go back over to Jeremiah 23 and verse 8 again. It says, verse 7. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh. Now, when we were just reading Deuteronomy 28, they had just came up out of Egypt, all right? It says, therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that they shall no more say, Yahweh liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. So we still talk about that Exodus till this day. But Yahweh liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country and from all the countries where I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. And so even to this day, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are scattered across the whole four corners of the earth and in every single country. All right, there's a population and a community of us in every single country. We scattered in the four corners of the earth. All right, but what? The Lord said there's going to be a new Exodus where he's going to take us up out of the north country and from all the other places where he scattered us from. All right, this is going to be the new Exodus. And what's going to make this Exodus way more grander, way more different is back in the old Exodus. All right, what happened then? He caused the plagues to come on Egypt. Yeah, and everybody wasn't destroyed in Egypt, but he caused plagues to come down on Egypt. The firstborns all died. You know, there was a lot of horrible plagues. He drowned the Pharaoh and all his whole army. So the whole military died, right? But nevertheless, there were still Egyptians left, right? Egypt is still standing till this day. All right. But nevertheless, this Exodus is going to be different. All right. And now also in that Exodus, we walked up out of Egypt on foot. All right. We followed we followed the chariot through the Red Sea, walked through the Red Sea, so on and so forth. Right. But nevertheless, This exodus is going to be way different because of why? Instead of us following and walking behind a chariot, we're going to wind up going up into those chariots, all right? And at the same time, this here land of America is going to be turned into a goddamn desert, man. All right, it's going to be ground zero for all the thermonuclear missiles coming over on this place, turning it into the lake of fire, all right? And we go in Revelation, 18? Talking about the great merchants, talking about wailing for her, for the smoke that goeth up, all right? This is going to be way grander. First of all, the destruction of America is going to be way again, Egypt wasn't destroyed, but the destruction of America is going to be way grander than the shit that happened in Egypt, all right? And then not to mention that, we're going to be taken up into the chariots, all right? Now, also, when you read into the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, all right, start with verse 1 on down, all right, talking about how basically these Edomites are going to have the biggest L in their life, these so-called white people, all right? They're going to, it's basically saying, you know, the way of righteousness, they had never found it. You know what I'm saying? They erred their ways. You know what I'm saying? And they're gonna ask, how is he numbered amongst the children of salvation? How is he of the chosen? You know, they're gonna be looking in awe, like, damn, how the fuck is these niggas the saints? How are these niggas the children of the Lord? How are they getting saved? And why are we getting destroyed? All right. So with all of this here taking place, because again, at that time we knew that we was Israelites. All right, but this time, what we waking up to we Israelites, we coming up out of this captivity that, you know what I'm saying, and it's gonna be from not only here in America but from the other places where we were scattered at. All right, so it's gonna not just be from one location like in Egypt, but from all four corners of the earth, and then the great exodus from here in America. All right, now we as individuals, we're not gonna be leaving here out of America like on our own accord, like we're gonna get on a plane and fly somewhere else. No, Yahweh Shah gonna come. The Lord Yahweh is gonna send Yahweh Shah with the angels and the chariots, and they're gonna come, like you say, come up hither. All right, they're gonna want to beaming us up, and we're gonna be up out of this place. All right, but nevertheless, continuing on. Let me go to this is the book of Jeremiah again, chapter 31, verse 8. It says, well, let me start at verse 7. For thus saith Yahweh, sing with gladness for Jacob, and shout among the chief of the nations, publish ye, praise ye, and say, O Yahweh, save thy people, the remnant of Israel. And that's indicative to this here this article cover, or this magazine cover. All right, it says, for thus saith Yahweh, sing with gladness for Jacob. And that's what the men of the Lord are doing. We singing for gladness for Jacob. All right, and shout among the chief of the nations on the highways and the byways, and doing these here videos, letting them know who they are, and they going into captivity and their judgment. All right, it says, publish ye, praise ye, and say, O Yahweh, save thy people, the remnant of Israel. All right, now what's being published on the front of that magazine cover talking about an exodus? What is that word? Again, that word exodus is another word where if the Bible wasn't around and stuff like that, it would really have no meaning. You see what I'm saying? When we talk about, the exodus. Now, exodus is what? Basically, I believe by definition, the word exodus is like a mass migration or movement of people, right? But we have a different word for that. We call it migrations, all right? We don't use the word exodus when we're talking about migrations, like the people in Venezuela, the people in Syria, and all these different so-called immigrant crisis. Why didn't you just say that these was mass exoduses around the planet Earth? You see what I'm saying? Because it's not pertaining to those things, all right? Now, you do have, you know, like when you talk about these caravans coming up from the, what do you call it, like Latin America, more or less to say. All right, these are all Israelites. For one, the Lord is they gathering them back over here to, you know, to Babylon. You know what I'm saying? For the most part, either for salvation or destruction. All right, we could have destroyed them over there. He also could have saved them over there. But nevertheless, that's why we're not going to be talking about in Egypt no more. We're going to be talking about the one here in Babylon. All right, because the shit that's going to happen here in America is going to be so great, man. You got to imagine in the time of war and all these things going on, you're going to see the chariots appear. All right, something that the planet Earth ain't never really seen. They had never seen them the way that you're going to see them in this day, like in the movie Independence Day. Yeah, we always catch chariots on video camera and things like that, but you don't ever see them in a big, grand, and they you know what I'm saying, in the actual state that they would be in. You don't ever see them like that, all right? But when you see these things like the movie Independence Day, you got chariots covering all of America and things like that, and it's televised, and you got war going on, and all of a sudden the children of Israel are being sucked up, all right? That's what's going to be happening, all right? So you have to take heed to the writings on the walls. Not only are we telling you this, the so-called white man is telling you this, the earth itself is telling you this, everything on the planet Earth is telling you the same thing is going on, all right? You have all these so-called crazy weather and patterns and stuff like that. Most of it is being controlled by the so-called white man. But you have the animals and shit going crazy, which that's also a byproduct of the so-called white man. But you have our people waking up, all right? That's due to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. But you see, everybody else is coming up against the so-called white man according to the prophecy. So all the writings is on the wall, letting us know where we at in time. All right, and the things that's about to happen. All right, verse 8. Or let me read verse 7 again. Jeremiah 31:7. For thus saith Yahweh, sing with gladness for Jacob, and shout among the chief of the nations. Publish ye and praise ye, and say, O Yahweh, save thy people in the remnant of Israel. Verse 8. Behold, I will bring them from the north country, again, North America, or Babylon the Great, here where we at. Behold, I will bring them from the north country and gather them from the coasts of the earth. Because we're not just here in America, but what? Let's put it this way. Brazil had got a bigger population of so-called Negroes as slaves in Brazil, right? Well, how come they not at the forefront of everything if the biggest bulk of so-called Jews are in Brazil? All right, how come the main picture is here in America? Because this is basically where Satan's seat is. This is where the so-called white man is ruling from. This is where he's dominating from. All right, this is the so-called how you would say the star of a movie. Babylon the Great is the star of this here movie. All right, so this is where all these things. That's why I keep saying, verse 8. Behold, I will bring them from the north country. They say that first. All right, but we not all of us are not just here in America. All right, and gather them from the coast to the earth. All right, so we're gonna be gathered from the four corners of the earth, but mainly the mass how do you say, Exodus, when the Lord save us and deliver us up out of this land, is going to be here in America. All right. It says, behold, I will bring them from the north country and gather them from the coast of the earth, and with them the blind and the lame, the woman with child, and her that travaileth with child together. A great company shall return thither. All right. So what the Lord is talking about, bringing back. He's talking about bringing back his people. All right. Let me actually just get to my next scripture real quick. Jeremiah chapter 32 and 37. Slack, give me 1 second. This is Jeremiah 32 and 37. It says, behold, I will gather them from all the countries whither I had driven them in my anger and in my fury, and in great wrath, and I will bring them again into this place, and will cause them to dwell safely. And they shall be my people, and I shall be their power. All right? And I will give them one heart and one way, that they may fear me forever, for the good of them and for their children. All right? And I will make an everlasting covenant with them, that I will not turn away to do good, but I will put my fear in their hearts, and they shall not depart from me. All right? So that's the time that we're getting in. All right? The Most High is about to deliver us from the places where he scattered us. All right, and then like what is that, Isaiah 40, I believe it is, where he's talking about all of us is gonna be made righteous. All right, let me grab that real quick. What is that, Isaiah? It's Isaiah 60, Slakia, Isaiah 60 and 21. Thy people shall all be righteous; they shall inherit the land forever. The branch of my planting, the work of my hand, that I might be glorified. And a little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. I, Yahweh, had hastened it this time. All right, so what? That's when the Lord is bringing us back into our righteous state, when he make us back right. But first, he's got to draw us from all these different nations. We're going to be gathered from out of all these different nations, going back into what? A massive exodus, all right? This is Ezekiel 37 and verse 21. It says, and say unto them, thus saith Yahweh power, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side and bring them into their own land. All right. So as long as you got some so-called Negroes here in America, some of them in Brazil, some of them in China, some of them in Afghanistan, some of them in Iraq, some of them in New Zealand, some of them in Australia. The Lord said he's going to gather them all up, and they're going to be put into their own land. They're going to be one nation at that point in time. We're going to be gathered from all these different places. All right. So what? This is talking about that mass exodus. All right. And again, the exodus back in that day, we was only taken out of Egypt. Not only are we going to be taken out of America, but we're going to be taken from the four corners of the earth, from all the places we was scattered. All right. And it's going to all be a simultaneous thing. All right. This is Ezekiel chapter 34. and 7. Well, I'm gonna start, or Salakia. This is Ezekiel 34:11. For thus saith Yahweh power, behold, I, even I, will both search my sheep and seek them out, as a shepherd seeketh out his flock in the day that he is among his sheep that are scattered. So we are the scattered sheep, the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And the Most High is what? The shepherd. Now he's looking for his scattered sheep. So will I seek out my sheep and will deliver them out of all the places whether they have been scattered in the cloudy and in the dark day. So what? When the time when the Lord come back with these chariots, thermonuclear warfare, or World War III, all these things when they popping off, that's when the Lord gonna come and deliver us. All right, and I will bring them out from the people, and will gather them from the countries, and will bring them to their own land and feed them upon the mountains of Israel by the rivers and the inhabited places of the country. All right. So again, the Most High is saying He's gonna gather His people, gather them back up. And there's going to be an exodus. Let me just close out with that, what we opened up with. All right. Jeremiah 23, verse 5. Well, verse 8, verse 7. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, that they shall no more say, Yahweh liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But Yahweh liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country, and from all the countries where I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. So, again, we're going to stop talking about this exodus that happened in Egypt, all right, after we get saved up out of this here land in America called Babylon, Babylon the Great, Mystery Babylon, all right? But nevertheless, just looking at these things that's on the that's being put out there, the signs that's being posted for you, the writings on the walls, for our people that's just coming into this or just waking up or don't know how to decide, or you listen to some of these other people, whether they look like you or not, because you do some of our own people preaching against this. But look, what their problem is they have a hatred towards the men of the Lord, all right? It's not about this here truth, because the so-called white men that they pray and worship to is bringing out the same thing that we telling you, all right? All the things that we telling you, if you look deep enough, not even deep enough, but if you just look and watch, most of our people don't even watch the news. Most of our people don't know politics. Most of our people don't know what's going on around the world and why these things are happening. All right. The whole world is in turmoil over you, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. This is why it's not because of Donald Trump. Donald Trump ain't fucking shit up. All right. The so-called white man had fucked everything up by refusing to let us go. So what? Now the Lord is working on the minds of all these kings and putting them all in their trick bags and is about to destroy all these damn heathen over what? Over his people, all right? But nevertheless, hey, like I said, these are all the writings on the walls, and these are the things that our people need to take heed to these things, all right? Get out of your pride and your feelings and your emotions. Y'all just preaching hate, this, and that, and so on and so forth. Well, why is it that all the things that we saying, you know what I'm saying? Let's take away the so-called the rough speech, you know what I'm saying? Us cussing and things like that. Take all that away and look at the facts that we bringing out versus the facts they bringing out. For the most part, it's all the same thing. They want to put in some lies and some stuff, but that's his character. He's a born liar on his own self, When he's trying to lie, he wound up coming out sometimes with some truth that wound up hitting him on his own head, But nevertheless, we're going to go ahead and close out with that. Lord willing, this here lesson was edifying into the elect. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Ruach HaKodesh. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you, Akim, pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Until next time, I say stay strong and shalom.